need a picture.
Everyone, come.
It's a great night. It's a perfect night.
Everyone together.
In the final weeks of 2021, I had the opportunity to watch Encanto, Disney Animation's 60th feature film. And like most people, I approached the movie having certain expectations, largely coming from the trailer that preceded it. I expected the good old Disney magic, and at least one musical number out of an array of musicals to keep me humming for days. However, what I didn't expect was the exploration of conditional love in the intimate theme of family. We noticed something in at least 5 of the Madrigals, from Luisa to Isabella, Antonio, Bruno, and of course, Mirabel. They each experience a burden which largely comes from their Abuela's parenting. In Abuela Alma's genuine efforts to protect her family and community, she makes a human mistake. She expresses a sort of conditional love towards her children without even realizing it. She ends up valuing each of them for their gifts rather than for who they are. In her noble pursuit to maintain the safety that has been provided by the miracle, she loses sight of her own children. Abuela's parenting causes 5 main problems, one of them being the burden of expectation. We see this most clearly in Luisa, the strongest member of the Madrigal family. Her strength has allowed her to serve both her family and community, and for that reason she is praised. However, underneath the surface, she struggles to live up to the expectations of her gifts and those of her community. Isabella, Luisa's older sister, experiences the same thing. Although grateful for her gifts, she feels trapped in the expectation of perfection and elegance. She has the powers to conjure up beautiful flowers, and for that reason she is regarded as Señorita Perfecta, a title that she feels pressured to live up to at every moment of every day. This burden of expectations exists alongside a deeper problem, the conflation of self-worth. Each child associates their self-worth to how well they perform, or in this case, how well their gifts serve their family and their community. They each stop feeling loved for who they are and start feeling loved for their gifts. We see this once again in Luisa. She fears she's not loved by her family for who she is, but rather for her strength. She considers her gift to be an integral part of what makes her worthy of love and praise. Her strength is not just a part of her identity. For her, it's a symbol of her worthiness. Without it, she doesn't know if she belongs. Bruno undergoes a similar conflation of self-worth, but not quite in the same way as Luisa. Alma's conditional love doesn't rest solely on whether or not her children are gifted. It also rests on how well those gifts serve the community at large. And due to the prophetic and doomsday-like nature of Bruno's gifts, Abuela essentially finds no place for him in the family. His visions threaten the currently established safety that Abuela is working so hard to maintain. The faintest idea that it could all descend into chaos is frightening for her, and she does whatever she can to cover the cracks that can tear down the family, and as a result, Bruno is distinguished as the family's black sheep, whose presence is synonymous with that of misfortune. Our main protagonist, Mirabel, seems to have come to terms with the fact that she possesses no unique gifts like her siblings. However, we see that this is still something of a sore spot for her. When she's asked about her gifts by the children in her town, she's reminded that in a family of gifted children, she's indeed the odd one out. This feeling endures most of all in her home. While everyone uses their talents to prepare for Antonio's gifting ceremony, she's told this:
I know you want to help, but tonight must go perfectly. The whole town relies on our family, on our gifts. So the best way for some of us to help is to step aside. Let the rest of the family do what they do best. Okay?
Essentially, the best way she could help is by not helping. The only other person close enough to understand how she feels in this moment is her cousin Antonio, who in this scene is yet to have his gift, and most of all, he fears ending up ordinary in a family of gifted children. No child his age outside the magical home is capable of magical abilities, but for the mere fact that he is a Madrigal, a gift is expected of him. The expectation is made all the more terrifying by the fact that his favorite cousin Mirabel stands as living proof that there exists the possibility that he may not be given a gift. Mirabel never had a fear like this because prior to her, this was something that was never thought to be possible. I don't think Antonio would have been as afraid if he didn't see how highly regarded the gifted members of his family are in comparison with those who have no gifts, or whose gifts threaten the currently established safety. The gifting ceremony seems to be the day that determines whether you belong or not, whether you are a madrigal or not, whether you are loved or not. Overall, there seems to be an absence of vulnerability within the madrigal home. Prior to Mirabel's encounter with her siblings, no child has ever truly opened up and voiced how they feel. They all did their best to live the life expected of them at the expense of their own happiness and fulfillment. In a family of gifted children, the idea that you are the crack, the imperfect one, in a perfect family photo can be incredibly frightening. So everyone does their best to mask their shortcomings and showcase their strengths. Eventually, vulnerability becomes non-existent because everyone fears that they would be casted out for their shortcomings. But in reality, the opposite happens when we allow ourselves to be vulnerable with those who truly love and care about us. They draw nearer to us because in our wounds, they see a reflection of themselves, something they understand and relate to. I think it's important to know that Abuela sincerely cared for her family, and at the core of what influenced how she raised her children was the experience of losing her beloved husband and being saved by the power of the miracle and its gifts. Encanto was an amazing movie, and I can't wait to see what comes next from Disney. If you want to see a different character from a different universe that experienced a conflation of self-worth and identity like the Madrigal children, check out this video over here. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.